So, let me ask you a pretty radical question. What if the truth of an idea isn't about how perfectly it mirrors reality, but about how well it actually works in your life? Now, this isn't some new age mantra. It's the very core of American pragmatism, a philosophical revolution that literally took philosophy out of the ivory tower and dragged it into the real-world laboratory of human experience.
You see, for hundreds of years, philosophy was basically a spectator sport. The biggest thinkers, guys like Descartes and Locke, they were brilliant, no doubt. But they treated reality like a game to be watched from the sidelines. They saw the human mind as this passive observer, totally separate from the world it was looking at. Kind of like a sports commentator who can analyze every single play with amazing precision, but never, ever actually steps onto the field.
And there's this fantastic term for this, coined by the philosopher John Dewey. He called it spectator empiricism. And man, does that phrase just nail it. It perfectly captures that old, kind of clunky, mechanistic way of seeing the world as just a collection of separate parts, with the human mind as one more passive spectator, just taking in data, but never really getting its hands dirty.
Okay, so let's break this down, because this shows two totally different ways of seeing everything. The old mechanistic model saw the world as a bunch of static things, like billiard balls. Their relationships are external. They're defined on their own and just happen to bounce off each other. In this view, your mind is just a passive bucket for facts, and those facts are seen as completely separate from your values. But a new organic model was starting to take shape. Here, reality isn't about things, it's about process. Relationships are internal. Think about it. A tree isn't just a thing. It's defined by its deep relationship with the soil, the sun, the air. In this view, we, the knowers, are actively participating in creating knowledge, and suddenly, facts and values, they're not separate at all. They're woven together.
And this, right here, is where the revolution kicks off. American pragmatism bursts onto the scene as a direct answer to that detached, spectator way of thinking. It was this powerful, powerful attempt to fix that huge break between our thoughts and our actions, to finally reconnect theory with what the pragmatists called praxis, which is just a fancy word for real, lived, active experience.
So what does this new approach actually look like on the ground? Well, for one, it puts the practical way ahead of the purely theoretical. It's all about focusing on concrete, lived experience. It just demolishes those old philosophical walls between mind and body, or fact and value, saying they're totally artificial. Experience is no longer this passive thing where you're just receiving data. Nope, it's an active, holistic process. And here's the absolute game changer. For a pragmatist, an idea isn't just something you sit around and contemplate. It's a blueprint for action.
The whole story of pragmatism really gets started with this guy, Charles Sanders Peirce, who was a practicing scientist. See, he wasn't interested in a lot of abstract philosophical debates. He was obsessed with a very practical problem. In a world that's full of uncertainty, how do we actually establish, or as he put it, fix, a belief that we can genuinely rely on?
So Peirce systematically goes through the ways we form beliefs, and he finds that most of them are, well, pretty flawed. First, you've got the method of tenacity, which is basically just digging in your heels and refusing to change your mind no matter what. That's a dead end. Then there's authority, believing something just because a powerful person or institution tells you to. Super unreliable. He also throws out relying on pure tradition or what just feels intuitive, because he knew that our intuitions are deeply personal and often totally contradictory. For Peirce, only one method held up, the scientific method. And why? Because it's public. It's grounded in external evidence that anyone can check. And most important of all, it has a built-in system for correcting its own errors.
Now, what Peirce was doing here was the direct assault on the very foundations laid by Descartes, the father of modern philosophy. He argued, look, you can't start from a place of complete doubt. You're always working with beliefs you already have. That private little feeling of certainty in your own head, sorry, that is not a reliable test for truth. And a single, elegant chain of logic, way too fragile. You need a sturdy cable woven from many, many different arguments. That whole idea that if an idea is clear, it must be true, a seriously dangerous assumption. In short, Peirce just systematically dismantled the whole notion that you could find truth by sitting alone in an armchair and just thinking really hard.
Okay, so if Peirce laid the scientific groundwork, it was William James who brought pragmatism into the messy, emotional, and deeply personal world of human experience. James was a physician and a psychologist, and he was absolutely fascinated by how ideas actually feel and function inside our heads. James just completely rejected that old model, the idea that our experience is built from these tiny separate atoms of sensation. No way. Instead, he gave us this incredible image of our inner life as a stream of consciousness, a continuous, flowing, interconnected process. It's not a collection of snapshots, it's a movie. Our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, they're all woven together into one seamless, organic whole.
And this totally new way of understanding consciousness led James to his most famous and maybe his most controversial conclusion. He proposed that we have to completely redefine what truth even is. Forget asking if an idea perfectly mirrors some static, external reality. For James, the real question is, does it work? An idea is true if it has workability, if it makes a tangible, positive difference in the actual flow of our lived experience.
This is what he famously called an idea's cash value. And he wasn't talking about money. Not at all. He meant its practical payoff. What tangible difference does believing in this idea make in your actual life? What are the consequences for your feelings, for your actions, for your hopes? That, for William James, is where you find an idea's real meaning and its truth.
So how does this method actually play out? Well, James applies it to one of the biggest philosophical debates you can imagine, materialism versus theism. But instead of getting lost in these abstract proofs for or against God, he asks a different question. What is the cash value of believing in each one? He defines materialism, pragmatically, as believing in a universe with no eternal moral order. What's its cash value? For James, it cuts off ultimate hopes. Then he looks at theism, which he defines as belief in such an order. And its cash value? It lets loose of hope. All of a sudden, the test for truth isn't about abstract logic, it's about the lived psychological consequences of a belief.
So, you see, the big deal here is that this wasn't just some minor tweak in how philosophers talk to each other. It was a fundamental reorientation of the entire project of philosophy, a massive shift away from abstract speculation and toward the concrete, messy realities of human life.
At the end of the day, what pragmatism really teaches us is to see our beliefs not as pretty pictures of reality that we hang on a wall to admire, but as tools in a toolbox. The right question to ask of any idea isn't just, is it true in some abstract sense, but what does this idea do? What can I build with it? How does it help me actually navigate the world? And that leaves us with a really powerful personal challenge. The pragmatists are basically inviting us to become accountants of our own beliefs. I mean, really look at the core ideas that guide your big decisions, your career, your relationships. Don't just ask if they're true in the abstract. Ask what they do. What are their real-world consequences in your life, for better or for worse? What, when you get right down to it, is their true cash value?